Hi everyone, Nadine Briggs here from Simply Social Kids. Here comes summer, whether we like it or not, here comes summer. I know kids are really excited when the summertime comes, but it's kind of a catch-22 for a lot of kids, especially kids who have social challenges. So I want to talk to you today about how your kids can really achieve some social success this summer with a little help from you to help facilitate that time. So some of the things that we hear from parents pretty commonly as the summer months approach are they say things like, I listen to my child call everyone for a play date and nobody ever says yes. It's just so sad if they have to listen to this. Or my child is always having friends over, but those same kids never ask her over to their house. That's a pretty common one as well. Or I feel like I can't really connect to other parents because their kids don't have any social challenges like mine does. I feel like I can't make friends with the parents as an adult. Or the lack of structure in the summer is just awful. I mean, a lot of kids thrive on that structure of school and the school day and the things they're going to do after school with some of those planned activities. And without that, they just feel kind of lost. And even kids get nervous about that, usually around May and June, a lot of anxiety for kids because certainly they are excited the school year is ending because they want to have all that free time, but then they have all that free time. And if they don't have friends and activities to fill that time, they feel a little bit lost. So I just want to give you some tips on how to potentially make that a little bit better for your family this summer. So the first thing is to create a social plan. Everybody has a different level of how much they want to socialize with people. And so kind of sitting down as a family and say, all right, like how often should we get together with people? What's comfortable for each of us? And not everybody's going to necessarily be on the same page. So maybe things that you would do as a family with other families, everyone needs to be on board with those. But if it's just your child getting together with another child, then it's just kind of what their level of social wanting is really in a given month. And I would tell kids this is not something that you necessarily share with other kids. It's just something internally in the family that we're doing to figure out what our social plan will be. And that gives people the right expectation. So just let's say you figure out a plan where you're going to try to get together with another kid or have your child have a play date with somebody maybe once a week. So that having that plan kind of figured out will prevent your child from asking you on a daily basis, can I have a play date today? Can I have a play date today over and over again because you've worked out this plan? They might still anyway, but at least you have the plan to kind of fall back on. And also with some of our rigid thinkers, we would need to remind them that just because there's a social plan, that's more of a rough social plan. That doesn't mean that if somebody asks you midweek to have a play date and you already had a play date over the weekend that you can't go. Right. So it's going to have that flexibility. It's a rough outline of a social plan for the family for the summer, just to kind of give a sense. And obviously vacations and things are also part of that. Then the second part is really the actual planning. This is where it gets really tricky for kids. Kids, a lot of times the younger kids have their parents to help them plan social time. So usually parents are quite involved in that. As kids get older though, that is more of a challenge, like teenagers especially, where they're expected to be able to plan their own social time, but they might not have the ability to do that as well as other kids. A lot of the kids we work with have executive function challenges, which is a difficulty it's a lot of different things, but one of the aspects of it is difficulty in planning and kind of figuring something out from beginning to end. And we think, oh yeah, just get together with somebody, it's no big deal. But there's actually a lot of planning that needs to go into it, especially if you are not somebody who drives, has your own resources, your own car. You have to involve parents, you have to coordinate with the other family. There's a date, there's a time, there's a rain date plan. There's all these things that go on in planning. And kids have a hard time thinking of all those steps and making it happen. And so for older kids, what can happen is if they don't want to ask their parents for help with that, and they don't know how to do it themselves, sometimes they just won't. It's easier to go online and to interact with people that way and avoid it altogether. So even if you have teenagers, you might have to help them. I wouldn't do it for them, but I would help them to learn how to start to figure out this planning. And we actually have a planning tool that we can also share. I can link it below that can help with that too. And again, with the kids we work with, sometimes they speak all their thoughts. I would make sure you tell them not to tell their friends that they use this planning tool to figure out the social event. That can be a behind the scenes thing that nobody else really needs to know that they need to use that. So some kids will overshare things they don't necessarily need to overshare. It's not really useful. In terms of socializing, there's two different ways I look at in terms of being able to do that. You can either go socialize in the home where you invite people over, or you socialize in the community. So let's just talk a little bit about that, because I definitely have some very specific reasons why I prefer that people, or I suggest that people socialize in the community as a first blush with someone versus having them in their home. So when you meet in a community, there's a lot of freedom to that, because you can go do the thing you're going to do. Maybe you're going to go to a water park, or you're going to go to play miniature golf. You're going to go do your thing, and then you can leave when you're ready. Okay, you don't have a set time that you need to be there. You can just leave whenever you're all done. And so if someone kind of fatigues or gets socially fatigued, which a lot of the kids I work with do get social fatigue, and you don't want to stay past that, because if you have a child with some social struggles, if you don't leave when they need to leave, you could end up with having the whole thing go south, and we don't want that to happen either. So it's just a really good way to go have some fun and then leave. The other thing that it provides you is a common conversation topic. So if you're playing miniature golf, you can talk about the shot that you made, oh, how you almost went in the water, or one time you played and you had a hole in one, or all the different things around that topic of miniature golf. And if there's other things to do at the place, you can talk about what you're going to do after you play golf. And there's just a lot of conversation topics around something like that, versus, again, having somebody physically come into your house. Because if a child is on a play date, let's say it's for 3 hours, which I think is kind of long, and depends on the age of the child, but that is kind of a long time. But let's say it was a 3-hour play date, and after 2 hours, they're pretty much done. It could get really awkward in that last hour, or things could start to go badly. And so some kids will actually say, well, if I want to leave a play date, I'm just going to call my family and come and have them pick me up, and not really even think that would hurt the feelings of the person who invited you over. They don't really consider that sometimes. So we want to avoid those types of things. But let's say you do have people over, or kids are together, whether in the home or in the community or at just a neighborhood barbecue. Here are a few things for you to listen for. So listen for these issues. So some of the things that you'll hear with kids if they're having a hard time are things like, hey, that was my turn, or no fair, or let's play something else, or let's do what I want to do now. And this could come from either your child or the friend. Or, oh, you're so annoying, or stop doing that, quit it, cheater. I want to play alone now. A lot of kids want to do that on a play date if they have social fatigue. They want to get away and play on their own. You're doing it wrong. I told you I was so good at this. You do some bragging. Oh, I hate this game. And there's a lot of different things like that. One of them, another one that I've heard in the past is, are your neighbors home? One parent told me that the kid comes over and keeps asking if the neighbor is home and they want to play with the neighbor. Or what time is my mom coming to get me? So those are all kind of red flags of there are things going on in this play date that aren't going well, and you got to listen for those things. Now, if you hear those things, it doesn't necessarily mean that you immediately want to intervene. We do want to see, kind of just watch and see if kids are able to resolve the issue for themselves, because if they can, that's what we want. We want them to be able to solve their problems. But if it looks like it's not going well, and you keep hearing these things, are not really kind of finding their play stride in that situation, then you can just say, hey, how you guys doing in here? I just want to check in to see if anybody was ready for a snack. Like, just take a break, have a snack. If you have the ability to pull your child away, if you think they're kind of the reason for the bickering, and you can find them a way to call, maybe they help you put the snack together or something, then you can do a little bit of social coaching with your child, with the other person not hearing. Now, when I say social coaching, I mean really help them understand how they need to make an adjustment after the snack, but if they go back to playing, so that they do a better job, or that they have more fun with their friend. It is not a time for berating them or yelling at them or making them feel bad. If they feel bad, if they get yelled at during that time and they feel bad, they're going to be anxious and upset, and then they got to go back and try to be friendly with this person. So we, as much as parents might feel frustrated in that moment, you might feel like yelling at them and be like, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? You know better than to do that, all those kinds of things. Then you're really setting them up for it not to go well, because they're going to be upset, and they're going to be concerned about doing it right, and their anxiety is going to increase, and then all kinds of things can happen from there. So just let me take a little break with that. The other thing too is when you feed kids, it tends to put them in a good mood. It kind of takes them away from what they were doing, gives them a little bit of a break, and obviously checking for allergies and food related issues that you need to know about this child before you feed them things. But just get some ice cream, or maybe some freshly baked cookies. And I'm not saying that you need to from scratch make cookies. You can just do the little slice and bake things where you just cut up the cookies and throw them in the toaster oven or something, just so they have like nice warm cookies. It can really, the smell of it can be really comforting. Cookies are kind of a way to reset everybody. They puts everybody in a really good mood. And so that can really help whatever was turning into a bad play date, and have it end on a brighter note if you have some things like that, or even pull out a craft or something so they have something to do, that they're more focused on the craft than they are each other. So just a few tips for you. So I hope with these tips that your summer is really smooth, and I hope it's really social and you feel a little bit more ready to tackle what's to come. So if you want more from us, please hit subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and you can hear more from us if you would like. We have a lot of videos on our YouTube channel. You might find some of them useful. Thanks so much.